No one can get through life without suffering many losses and setbacks. The death of loved ones and friends, declining health, loss of physical and mental abilities, the knowledge that the inevitable is getting closer. As life challenges us and the clock ticks away, how do we keep our spirits up, have a positive attitude, enjoy the time we have on this earth? To find the answers to these questions, I interviewed 6 residents of Carleton-Willard Village, a retirement community in Bedford, Massachusetts, where I conduct monthly Shabbat services, to find out what keeps them upbeat and optimistic. What gives them the strength and resiliency and the ability to enjoy each day? I asked them about the foundations of their faith, how they cope with loss, and what advice they would give younger people as they go through life's journey. Carleton-Willard's chaplain, Reverend Alexx Wood, will give us her perspective on how the residents are making the most of this stage of their lives. Welcome to Spiritually Speaking.
Though the time be far, I know that come it will, when each nation shall each other bless, and peace the earth shall fill. God shall reign over the earth on that day. God shall be one, and your name it shall be one.
Alex, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the past couple of years. You've been ordained in the Methodist?
Yes, I am a Methodist by association, but one of the things I love about Carleton-Willard is that you get connections and exposure to so many different faith traditions here, including people who have no particular faith tradition or claim. We do a lot of spiritual nurture in sometimes specific traditions, and sometimes they're very open. So we have connections with some of the other clergy in town, including yourself, who come and do religious services in their particular tradition. As you know, we do the Jewish Shabbat dinners once a month. We have an Episcopal priest who does an Episcopal communion service, and we have a Roman Catholic priest who does a Mass here, as well as a service of anointing of the sick.
Every year we bring the kids over to celebrate Hanukkah. I really enjoyed watching the kids teach the residents how to play dreidel.
We do celebrate some of the Christian traditions, Christmas and Easter, Passover Seder. Many times half the people that come to those particular traditions aren't of that particular tradition. They're just curious, interested, and again, we've created such an inclusive environment here that they feel welcome. And we also do some things just to help people tap into their spiritual selves. So I have a meditative art and coloring session that we do on Friday afternoons. I try to do a variety of programmatic things that both nurture people's spirits, but also connect them together. Some people still are searching and learning. I do a Bible study here every week. One of the most important things we do here is an all-village memorial service. It's just really a joy to be able to bring in elements from so many different backgrounds and perspectives.
Are there common themes that you find when you speak to people or counsel with people that they're dealing with or questioning about maybe their spirituality or their faith?
The themes that are important and meaningful across religions that we try to figure out how to live out in our daily lives are the ones of loving our neighbor. That's a religious tenet that is played out well in a place like this. We learn how to love our neighbors because we're in close contact with them all the time.
And what about issues regarding illness or death?
As you're dealing with different losses, and not only losses of friends or family or loved ones, but losses in your own life, loss of mobility, loss of hearing, loss of sight, as those things are being dealt with, understanding how to move through that in a faithful way is something that people really wrestle with. The thing, again, that is a commonality across religions is the idea and the very real fact that you're not alone, right? Even in the last, most alone days of your life, you're not alone. And in a place like this, with even the residents volunteering to sit with folks who are in hospice or, in their last days and hours. So they're really caring for one another. And that's just a beautiful, I think, example of them building the kingdom of God right here. If only we could expand it out into the world, it would be a beautiful place.
When you talk to people towards the end of their life, what gives them faith?
It's different for every person. Some people at the very end of their life have a whole new set of questions. Some people are comforted and by their faith and ready to go into whatever the next realm is. And so it just depends on the individual person, just like faith is as varied as sometimes I think every individual person, the end of life experience is as varied as well. Some people are frightened, some people are calm, some people know exactly how they want it to go, and some people are just very open to whatever gifts or presents that you want to offer in those moments.
And I know there are also quite a few people here who are not at the end of their life. They're living independently.
That's right.
And they've got, a lot of health and strength. And what kinds of issues might you generally talk about?
Especially after retirement, even the more active folks, they need to find purpose and meaning at this stage in their life. I think it's the connections and relationships that they have with not only with one another, but with the staff and with the families that come in. People, it's just its own little neighborhood, its own little community. That helps them through, knowing that they can lean on their neighbors.
It's the importance of relationship and just closeness with another person and the support that a relationship gives you, that in the end it sounds like is the most important of all.
Yeah, I think it is.
Thank you very much. This was wonderful.
Pleasure.
And now we're going to hear from some of the residents at Carleton-Willard so they can talk personally about their beliefs and their backgrounds and advice they give to younger people and how they cope at this stage of their life. So thank you very much, and let's go on to meet our individuals.
Sounds good.
I really wanted to talk to you today about your philosophy of life, like what keeps you going, like what wisdom have you learned over the ages?
If I were asked how would I label myself, I've often toyed with the label a Buddha Quakapalian.
Wow.
But that's just the beginning, because it's really, I have no sense of difference, if you will, in terms of our rootedness in faith and trying to live our faith and put that into practice. That's what counts, not what you believe as opposed to what I believe. It's not a matter of what we give intellectual assent to. It's what we give our heart to. Very early on, I got a sense that to be whole, to be at peace, to have meaning and purpose in my life, and to be empowered, guided to be the best I could be, or better than I'd be ordinarily, was to live in conscious relationship with God. And I hesitate to use the word God because that word is so loaded with meaning and freight, if you will. I'm sure everyone who hears that word has a different understanding of what it means. But for me, ultimately, it is love, a loving presence, a mysterious loving presence who is in whom all of us, whatever our faiths, our backgrounds, our race, religion, nationality, class, all of us are beloved, and all of us are connected. As we center ourselves, drop down inside and center ourselves, there is a place of stillness and peace, of light, accessible to everyone, to focus on what is of ultimate importance, I guess, at this point in my life, rather than making much of small things.
I was born an Episcopalian. My father went to seminary when I was an infant, and he was ordained in 1925. And at that time, I think all churches were having a terrible struggle because it was in the middle of a terrible depression. The other thing that came along was World War II. And my fiancé was a fighter pilot in North Africa and Italy, Sicily. And he survived the war, which was a wonderful thing. I became a Unitarian in about 1950. And I stayed a Unitarian. I am now able to be in both. So I have a tremendous awe of a divine being who is helping to keep me going. I'm very grateful that my husband wasn't killed in the war. And I had a couple of other life and death experiences. And here I am at 97. So it seems a miracle to me.
I believe that life is a journey and filled with mystery. And I'm willing and very interested in spending a lot of attention on learning as much about that mystery as I can, but primarily in sharing in that journey with others. I'm not focused on prayer or beliefs. Collectively, I'm very much interested in what other people believe and hopefully sharing a journey where I am accepted and I accept others. I regularly attend Bible study, which contains in the Old Testament and the New Testament much wisdom. And it helps me understand myself and my presence in a world that has lots of conflict and difficulties. I try to make the best of the world through this focus.
I think it's wonderful that at this part of your life, you've actually become more observant as a Jew than you were for the whole rest of your life.
I definitely pay more attention to the holidays than I ever did growing up. I'm a very positive person, upright. I believe in looking at, the positive things in life and not the dark, ugly things. And that's how I really live my life, too.
I am an Episcopal priest ordained in Bedford, Newfoundland, so I'm really an Anglican priest. And before that, I was a cradle Episcopalian, but then I was a Quaker for several years at Earlham College. So I've had a variety of experiences in the old days. But now, here at Carleton-Willard, I'm having a variety of new experiences, one of which is learning about the Jewish tradition in a real way. I am never too old to learn.
What keeps you going?
Definitely God, sometimes Jesus, and being outdoors and having the opportunities to reflect and to do a lot of praying and to meet with others and find out what they're doing with their lives and their faiths. God is right there all around and sends us messages sometimes, at least to me, but that is my own tradition.
I was raised the daughter of a Unitarian clergyman. I grew up when he was the minister at King's Chapel in Boston. I grew up with a very, very, what shall I say, wonderfully gentle and yet firm kind of theology and morality. Everybody is acceptable, and that's something a little bit that's come maybe a little late in my life. We were always brought up with very strong sense of revulsion about anything like anti-Semitism. The civil rights movement was nothing new to us. My father's father fought for the Union in the Civil War, which is hard to believe, but it's true. I am continuing to learn about different facets of religion, and one thing that I don't feel that I learned an awful lot about directly was the love of God for the individual.
Your son was one of the 11 who were killed in the Pittsburgh Tree of Life Synagogue, which was just a horror. How are you coping with that? How are you getting by after that tragedy?
It was a terrible tragedy, very hard to get over. To lose a child is like, I think, the worst thing in the world. And he was such a good person. You know, some people are not, but he really was. He always was helping people, always. Anyway, as I say, thank God I have another son who lives here. And I'm so thankful for that. And then it's day by day. The sun goes down, the sun comes up, and you have to get up and get dressed and go about doing something.
I had my husband until he was 94. We had 67 years. And I am very grateful for that. And I really am not over the fact that he's gone. I wouldn't tell anybody that. I just I won't ever recover from it.
The biggest loss in my life was my mother when I was 3. And I've been thinking a lot recently about what she taught me in those 3 short years, about what she wanted me to be, and giving me her sled dog, and giving me pictures, lots of pictures of her with me, and also stories that I heard about her. However, I really, really can't wait to see her again. My belief is strong, and I know I will, but it's getting closer.
I could not possibly get through the day without a sense of being connected with many other people, that we need each other, and I am needed, and to continue to participate. And to quote another common cliche, I felt sorry for myself when I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet. And there's this sense of if to live in loving service to God and to others, there are always others who are suffering much more difficult things than I could possibly imagine, and to be there for them somehow makes my own burden lift or lighter or disappear sometimes for a while. There's the sense that when we die, it's not over. As Stephen Levine put it in his book, Who Dies? Dying is really just a change of lifestyle. That's a little flip when you lost somebody that is just integral to your life. But there is this sense that they are living on and would want me, as I would want them, to live life fully, enjoy.
Doing the best you can with what you can control is about the best you can do. I lost my husband at a pretty early age in today's world. He was only 67. It was my job to show that I could manage on my own.
You don't let difficulties and rejections and loss affect you. I have the ability to deal with those without surrendering to them.
What advice would you have for younger people as they go through life in terms of how to live a successful, happy life?
I would tell them to be strong, grow according to how God wants them to, and well, it's a long list, but be courageous, be alert, be alive.
Ultimately, a sense that I and all of us are held in the loving hands of a compassionate, infinitely compassionate, unconditionally loving God, that it's where we've come from and where we're going that's important. We're here on this earth, my sense is, in some way to manifest that love and justice and beauty and goodness in the world, to live a life of service in some way or another. We're only here a short time. Make it count somehow. Make it count.
Keep it up. Just keep working. Don't quit. Don't say, we can't do anything about it, forget it. And they aren't doing that. I don't think the young people are doing it. I think the young people are going, if we're going to get saved at all, it's going to be their work that's doing it.
Stay engaged with people. I very much believe that people feed off of each other, that not in an aggressive way, but that engagement with people helps you live a life that has meaning and fulfillment. Very important that you give as well as receive from society. Robert Frost's poem, The Two Roads, the One Less Traveled. And so much in our society is that there's a road that you have to take, but that's not true. And when you come to an intersection and something else happens, that's important to accept that and move ahead.
I feel some reason or other I'm still here. And I'm trying to be as much of an example to my family that I can be. I to get people to volunteer for anything that they can try to do. Here, if there's a job to do, even if it's not very interesting, or take a course in something that they don't think they can do. In other words, look outward. Look outward. Every morning I get a new chance, a new start.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you were as inspired as I was by how these individuals have been successfully navigating the storm-tossed voyage of life. They give us hope that no matter what life brings us, it is possible to find peace, inspiration, comfort, and support. Shalom, salam, shanti, peace.